I'm Michel Tricot. I'm the co-founder and I'm the CEO of Airbyte. And Airbyte is basically moving data, making every piece of data available in a place where it will deliver value for a team, for a company, for an individual. And Airbyte is open source. Personally, I've been in the US since 2011 and always been in the data space. So having a blast building that amazing product today.
Fantastic. And so how did you kind of come up with the idea? Was it a problem that you kind of had yourself, that your friends had had? How did you kind of come up with it?
Yeah, actually, I've always been. I was lucky after college where I landed by chance in the data space, and I actually started on financial data. One of the thing I had in mind was, let's just build, let's just do something that is finance related, and ended up working very much on the data. So everything that is about ingestion, everything that's about processing, everything that's about distribution and querying. And bit by bit, I started to just build my expertise there. And in 2011, I moved into San Francisco, joined big ad tech company, public, it's called LiveRamp, and had faced the problem, but at a scale that was internet scale. And after that, moved to a different startup, same thing. IoT, not IoT, but AVs, like automated vehicles, and just pulling data, map data, incident data. And what I realized is that everything is always the same thing. You're always building the same kind of system. You always have the same problem around automation, monitorability, and volumes. And I was, okay, let's solve it for once with something that is extensible and that is future-proof for companies.
Fantastic. And was your first thought to open source it? Like, was it from day one you were going to be open source?
At that point, we go more into the founding a company story, which is you always have an idea of what you want to do. For me, it was a problem space, which is how do you make data available in places where people can use it? What the product was, at the time, we had to do a lot of iteration. But the moment we settled on the idea of Airbyte as it is today, it was an obvious choice to make it open source. And the reason is, yes, we're building the platform that control all these data pipelines, but the actual ability to build connectors and the extensibility is extremely good with open source, because now you can have community members who can just add their own data connector, share it with the community, and share the burden of maintaining this connector with more people. And that's the only way that we see as being able to address a long tail of connector and always have up-to-date and high-quality connectors.
Fantastic, makes sense. And so maybe talk a little bit about, obviously MindsDB and Airbyte have got a partnership, got an integration. I'd love to hear a little bit about that and kind of the benefits both to Airbyte users and to the MindsDB users.
Yeah, so whenever we think about AI, talk to anyone who's doing AI, the foundation is you need to have data. So it's almost like you have this infrastructure, which is you need to have data, and on top of it, you can actually plug the intelligence. And that's why we try, by building Airbyte, to remain a little bit agnostic we really try to be a little bit agnostic on what is going to be the use case. So if it's analytics, perfect. If it's automation, perfect. If it's AI, perfect. For us, it's just about what bridge do we need to build. And what I like about MindsDB is that it's actually already compatible with everything that we do at Airbyte, because one of the main destinations that we have are data warehouses, and MindsDB natively connects to these data warehouses, meaning that the moment you have a warehouse, you just plug MindsDB in it, and you can have this intelligence on top of it. So that's a pretty good synergy between these two products.
Fantastic, excellent, great to hear. And so, from your perspective, how do you believe that the partnership between Airbyte and MindsDB can make a difference, right? We're both around about the same stage of growth, although you guys are a little bit further ahead, I think. What does it look like in the next few years, do you think?
I think in the next few years, what's going to happen is that we're going to have something that is very similar to what has happened with data in AI, which is you have a segment of the population that is trying to bring AI on top of data. One is going to be very code-oriented, and the other one is going to be very data warehouses or tabular or data lake, but tabular data-oriented. And like the data engineers are going to become more like tied more and more to this one. That's a belief. We'll see if that comes true. But from there, we want to make sure that every person that is looking to get the intelligence on top of the data has this ability to plug the two things together. And that's where I see a pretty good partnership between MindsDB and Airbyte is funneling more data and empowering this team with simple tools that they have been trained and that they've used every single day, and just adding this extra layer of AI on top of it. So just doing the full chain.
Fantastic. Makes sense. And so for Airbyte, what's like coming up next? What are you guys working on? What are the things that are keeping you up at night? Lots of things, I'd imagine, but
always a lot of things keeping me up at night. For me, so there are a few things. One is we are very focused on the fundamental features. So what do people expect to see from a data integration platform? And we're hitting a point where we are basically covering a lot of those. So everything around, first of all, speed, ability to extend the number of connectors, like reliable scheduling, and like schema migration, et cetera, et cetera. So these are things that are coming up. Now, a big focus is going to be around continue to maximize the coverage around databases, because every team has databases. They've made technical choices on these databases, and we want to be able to cover whether using the most famous one like Postgres to other ones that are maybe less known, but that your team depend on for their day-to-day. And of course, we have a little bit of an effort right now on how do we bridge the gap? What do we do to facilitate access to AI? And how do we make this data more readily available for AI technology? So that's a big thing for us as well.
Fantastic. And so obviously we touched on the fact that you're open source. Talk a little bit about the role that community plays. You've touched on this a little bit, but the role that community plays in everything that you guys do.
Yeah. So when we look at our community, we split it in two. We have the users of Airbyte. So they are more the advocate that we have in like thousands of companies that are using Airbyte, know how to use it, and expand the usage within the company. And then we also have our contributors. And our contributors are the ones who are helping us building more connectors, maintaining these connectors. And yeah, I think today we have about 13,000 people on our Slack. And one thing we're trying to do with our community is also to create more a dynamic between our community members to help each other. We've been very focused on helping our community to grow and to gather all that feedback from the community. We want to make the community also to be more independent, while we are still here, but having more people that help each other. Especially that we have people who've been using Airbyte since the beginning when it was like very, very early alpha, and they've gone through all the pain of growing with a growing open source project. So,
and what's your obviously you've been working with the MindsDB team as part of the conference here. What has your experience been working with the MindsDB guys?
They know what they're doing.
That's good. I'm doing my job.
No, I mean there is a lot of energy behind like this type of initiative. It's not the first time we're working with MindsDB. We've worked with the team. I think it was in 2021, doing a tutorial around like Shopify forecast, and there is a real understanding of what use cases are interesting to cover, and yes, just the amount of information that we can share between the two teams on how to do just how to make it work. So a lot of velocity there.
Fantastic. And finally, is there anything else you would like to kind of say about either the collaboration or about Airbyte itself?
Yeah, I mean, let's do more together. Yep. Let's do I'm almost thinking of a cadence of publication where every time we find a new use case, we see how we can make that use case something that is more applicable to a broader audience so that people can start shopping around on how to best use Airbyte, how to solve their problem. Because what they have today is they have a hammer, but they don't know what nail to hit, and they don't know what value they can get by hitting a nail. So just identifying all these different use cases and make them available. And I think MindsDB there is really good because it adds itself on top of existing mature technology, and it means that the audience there is pretty big.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.